A lot of people are no longer making critical or moral judgments based upon who carried out terror acts, who preaches genocide, whose God tells them to murder the way to a virgin-filled heaven. Their morality is based upon the Marxist view of victimhood. Now, this falls apart when there's two oppressed classes of victims who are fighting, Damian. Tell us about the civil war that you think is shining a light on the hypocrisy.
Yeah, well, it's the Yemeni civil war, which has been going on for, 9 years, more than 9 years, coming up to 10 years now. And I think that civil war really does shine an incredible light, as you said, on the hypocrisy of the people marching in the streets about the concerns over the deaths of children in Gaza. Now, I'm not, of course, saying that war isn't horrible. It's ridiculous that we even have to make this point clear these days, but it seems as though if you don't call for an immediate ceasefire, you're a child killer. So idiotically simplistic is the black and white world of these people and the way that they think. But we're surrounded by that neo-Marxist way of viewing the world that has seeped into our culture. And I always chuckle when people say, you're overreacting when you talk about Marxism and wokeism and everything and identity politics taking over our culture. But when you see something as serious like this happen, you realize just how dangerous and how insidious and actually how much it actually has taken over our culture, because that this debate could even have the light of day. It's not something you would have ever have thought of many moons ago. There would be no question as to who is in the moral right here. But these days, in a world where we've had this ideology of moral equivalence, the ideology that all morality, all values, all religious ideologies, all ways of thinking are equally valid, and that we're naughty if we don't put all of them on a level playing field. And then you've got on top of that just the endless paradigm of oppressor oppressed, as you said. That's the Marxist lens through which they view everything. Why? Because you've got to get people on your side. You've got to get the people to rise up to have your little revolution. And so you need an oppressed group. And we've seen them do it on every category that they possibly can of identity politics, race, gender, religion, and now age. Of course, they're trying to create this gap between the millennials and the baby boomers. So they're trying to set up that conflict here in Australia between those two groups, that one group is oppressing the other. As you said, in this situation, we've kind of got two oppressed groups, but that's not how the neo-Marxists in the West see it. They see Israel as big and powerful and strong, and Gaza as weak and feeble. And therefore, Israel is the aggressor in this situation, never mind the fact that they're responding to an obscene act of aggression. So that paradigm that worldview just will not die for some reason. People just want to see things that way. And it's not really about anti-Semitism as much as people are saying, I think. I think there is anti-Semitism out there. There's no question. There's a lot of that on the left and a little bit on the right, on the extreme far right, and it's an awful thing. But I think what we're really seeing here is just the self-loathing of the West playing out in another way, and the character, the country that's fulfilling the role of the West in this new oppressor-oppressed narrative or paradigm that people have got going in their heads is Israel. So they're the baddies this time, and they're oppressing the people of Gaza, and therefore that's it. It's very easy to make a moral judgment, and away we go.
I actually think it might be a bit worse than that, Damian, as far as what's happening in the West with the Marxist worldview. It's almost as if we've now been saddled with a generation of art critics, people who, instead of creating things and finding new ways forward, because they've been denied a proper education and been discouraged from competition and from doing anything useful, all they can do now is sit back and criticize and gain fame and fortune and social media praise, which is the new currency these days, in how much they resist and react to things they don't really understand. So Sure, we've got all these university kids marching on the street for Palestine. They wouldn't be able to tell you what the Palestinians believe. So forget Hamas. They wouldn't be able to go and tell you what the values are of the average Palestinian, what they think, what they do, what sort of atrocities go on with inside Palestine without even Israel being there, because it's counter to everything they believe as an ideology. And yet they're there shouting in the streets for terror acts, essentially. And it's because they've just been taught to be radicals, to be activists. That's why they go and march for climate, and they march for race, they march for anything they're told to march for, because they haven't done anything else with their lives.